Hello, my spooky friends. This is John, your host from Dairyland Frights. And this is the podcast where we cover everything mysterious, creepy, and spooky in the Midwest. But today we're going overseas. All right. I am pumped. I have a very special guest with me, Cynthia. Cynthia, welcome.
Hi.
Hi. Now, Cynthia, I'm going to have a bunch of little questions for you and everything like that. But before we get to that, just to make sure, are you a practicing witch? Or please explain that to my audience.
Yes, absolutely. So John said I'm practicing witch from a small village in the Netherlands. I call myself a solitary eclectic witch. Which means I use witchcraft traditions which don't fit into a specific category. It's a path which is followed by many solitary witches who chooses work the magic alone, just like me.
That is really interesting. So tell me a little bit more about yourself, because sometimes we're going to talk today about the occult. We'll do a little tease here in a little bit. We're going to talk about the occult and everything, because I found Cynthia off Instagram and I was immediately fascinated with her. I have some witch friends, which in the States we call Wiccans. They're more like, I use a generic term here. Excuse me for using the generic term, Cynthia. More like a druid, somebody that's looking to help nature and to bring back the nature and not harm nature. So, tell me a little bit about your interest in the occult and magic, if you tell my audience. Like, what got you started into it?
I started at a very young age. I've had this interest since my childhood. I was crazy about history at school, ghost stories. I watched secretly horror movies at a very young age.
Nice.
I think I was 8 or 9.
Wow.
In the Netherlands, the people are not so open-minded about occult. So they called you very quickly a weirdo or a witch in the bad ways.
Yeah.
So yes, but the fascinating is stay with me all the time. So I study and practice occultism. And that's phenomena related to supernatural powers and magic. And I focus my efforts on the area of unexplained, of mysterious events, hauntings, mysteries, artifacts, documentation of unusual creators, people, of events.
That you have immediately piqued my interest. That is fascinating to me. So what's weird here in the States, witches are still considered bad, which sucks, because that's not true. And in the States here, we put them in two categories: a black witch, which is evil, which is stupid, and a white witch, which is good, which is equally stupid. Would you say, and I don't mean to insult you, do you think you fall into any one category like that, like a white witch versus a black witch, or what would you say? You mentioned your category, like you fall into, and I hate to pigeonhole you, like put you in a category, but what would you say kind of witch you up?
Well, I like the right side of witchcraft with the nature. I work a lot with the nature, with the Sabbath, the time of the year, the moon. So I think that's the right side of witchcraft. But I also love to work with Lilith or Lucifer. That's the dark side. I think a lot of people think that's a dark side, the left-hand path, we call it. And many people think, that's a bad witch, or it's dangerous to work with devils. But most people doesn't know more about devils than what they're reading or in the internet. Lucifer is Satan, the devil, he's bad, he can possess you. If you learn more about these devils or demons, you figure out that it's not all bad. And
absolutely.
I think I'm in the middle of both.
Yeah, that's great. That's really interesting, Cynthia, because I've read the Satanic Bible, and people misunderstand. See, it's due to Hollywood and horror movies.
Yes.
You got to make it scary, right? You can't just have like a nice person like you, like maybe helping someone with, I don't know, like getting some luck. Like they've had bad luck, and you're like, hey, let me help you. I will do a spell to help you with luck or something. Who knows, right? You're just trying to be nice. And the Satanic Bible, for people out there, and I'm going to do a episode on the Satanic Panic. So the Satanic Panic, really quickly, Cynthia, in the United States, people went to jail because some people believe that they worship the devil. And I'm not talking about like in the 1800s or 1400s. I'm talking about modern 21st century. And that's insane to me. So that's something we can talk about throughout our discussion here, and I will have in another episode. So the other thing I love that we're into the metal. So my metal heads out there and my spooky friends out there who are metal heads, in the Netherlands, you are known for, well, not as much now, but you're still known for creating a genre of metal called black metal. So I was in the old black metal school bands, Emperor, Bathroy. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the story of Mayhem that led to a movie called Lords of Chaos.
Yes.
Yeah, that's crazy. So how old were you when all this was happening, when they were burning down churches and that metal scene was out there? Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yes. The black metal subgenre is from heavy metal music, and that typically takes on anti-Christian, satanic, and paganistic themes, and also witchcraft. And during the 80s, several thrash metal and death metal bands like Venom, Battery, Merciful Fate, Hellhammer formed a prototype for black metal. And in the early 90s, I was young in that. I don't know that only from stories.
Sure.
Norwegian bands such as Mayhem, Dark Throne, Immortal, and Emperor developed the style of forebears into a distinct genre. And the Norwegian-inspired black metal scene emerged through Europe and North America.
Yes.
Although some other scenes developed their own styles independently. Yeah. But unfortunately, synonym for satanic metal, black metal, has often sparked controversy through actions and associated with the genre. And some artists express some views for extreme anti-Christian Satanism. And in the 90s, some members of the scene were responsible for the spate of the church burnings and murders.
Yes.
And that's unfortunately the black metal have sometimes a bad name because I think people think it's screaming, horror lyrics, grunting, the creepy makeup, sort of corpse paint, and I love that. But it's a prejudice about this music and people who love and makes this music.
Yeah, and that's awesome. So I recommend highly, I'm going to put a link to the Lords of Chaos movie. It is a pretty good movie about that whole situation.
Yes.
But at the end of it, a whole new genre of music was made. And I think that's amazing. I love that because with American metal, we have speed metal, thrash metal, death metal, what I call pop metal. I love all kinds of metal. But one of the biggest bands here, most controversial bands here, not that much anymore, is called Slayer. I've seen Slayer many times. They're a fun band. They're a great show. Unfortunately, the lead singer is losing his voice. So maybe not go to a show. If you want to, you can, but just know that it's not the same old Slayer. These guys are in their 50s and 60s. So it's not the same. But that gives us new bands to come in and push the envelope, because that's what rock and roll and metal's about. You got to push that envelope and give it a new shine in a new area to look at, that people can go, I identify with it or I don't. And that's your choice. So before we get started, Cynthia, do you have a favorite or spooky personal paranormal experience you would like to share?
Oh, yes. I think
All right.
it's very spooky. I don't know if it's very spooky, but it's strange.
Okay.
It was about 70 years ago, I think. I had a strange experience with a dream. I had a dream that I was visiting my grandmother's house. Now, you should know that my grandmother passed away a year before I was born, so I only know her from photos. And, I had a dream about her, and the next day I saw my dad. I told him about being at my grandmother's house in my dream, and I described her living room and kitchen. And my father is very skeptical and has no interest in paranormal occult subjects. But now he was quiet for a moment, because I had just described her house exactly how it was when she is alive, and I couldn't know that.
Yeah.
So I think that's a little bit weird.
Yeah, that is. That's a common paranormal experience. And hopefully, most people have good. I've told about this before, where people have told me, like, their grandma passed away, and then, they had like, I don't know, they're going through a bad experience. And then, like, their grandma will show up and smile at them or touch them or whatever, and be like, it's okay. You're going to be fine. You're going to get through this. And I think that's what I love the most. I don't like if grandma would turn into a demon and start chasing people around. That's not good. You don't want that. But there are stories about that too. So let's get right to the spookiness. And before that, just to let you know, my spooky friends, I will put Cynthia's links out there and stuff like that. Again, please reach out to her, be respectful, and be nice, because I don't want her to, feel like if you got different views, it's okay. But, again, just know that this is open for us all to talk about and have a good discussion. And that's why I do this podcast too, Cynthia. So people who don't believe can can talk about it, right? And we can have some great discussions, an open discussion. So in today's episode, we're discussing magic and the occult, its mysterious history and the misunderstood meaning of the occult through time, which I'm sure, Cynthia, you can talk about that. And before we get started, just want to let you know some of my sources, which I'll put it in the episode links, is from the Digital Cult Library, Learn Religion's website, Wikipedia, and Britannia, which is the Encyclopedia Britannia. They actually have a website that I found that has all this great stuff. So let's get right to it. A brief history of magic, according to the Learn's Religion website. So the term magic derives from the Greek magique, and the first time it appears in print in the title of a now lost work attributed to Aristotle. This was about 384 to 322 BCE, and is specifically referred to the art and craft of Zoroastrian, priest from Persia. As it did for the Persian priests, modern magic involves behaviors, actions, and methods included to interact with and influence the supernatural world, usually involving the use of an occult or secret body of knowledge. But the boundaries that define what is religion, what is magic, is variable, and to an extent are set by practicing sect or even an individual. So, similar to you, Cynthia, you have a different way of doing things, right? Like, you may follow maybe certain things, but in all, like, when it comes to magic, like, how do you follow certain things? Like, do you follow a book? Do you follow, I don't know, whatever, some scrolls? Maybe you have a scroll? I don't know. I mean, talk about that a little bit.
No, I don't follow a book. I read a lot about ancient history. So I buy many books on the internet, or I read it online. But,
Nice.
I'd rather have books because online there is so much online, and you don't know what's true and what not.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes, because everybody can call themselves everything, and you can check that.
Yeah.
So with spells,
That's
I don't like to do spells if I don't know where it came from. Especially not when I work with demons, or because you don't know what you summoning, zeg maar.
Yeah. So you destroyed my image, Cynthia. I thought you were in your room with this huge book and this big hat on and going, oh, no, that's not happening. All right. Well,
no.
So people, that's movies, okay? So that's like a movie thing. Yeah. So, all right. So let's talk about some common modern usage. In common usage, magic evokes some sort of change in the physical world through non-scientific means in occult and esoteric circles. Magic can take a wider meaning, just like Cynthia was talking about here, involving spiritual change. Practitioners of some of the branches, which we'll get into, see their practices as having very little in common with other branches. Would you agree with that statement, Cynthia?
Yes, I agree with it.
Yeah.
Because all the things are in common with each other. So you have with when I work with Lilith, for example, a good way to work with Lilith is with meditation. So if you go meditate, that's you can meditate on so many ways. So not only in a witchcraft, but if you go to a yoga school, you are meditating. When you are praying in the church, you are sort of meditating.
Yeah.
So it's all in common with each other. Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. So Lilith is a demon. Is that correct?
Yes.
Or
it's a demon. Yes.
Yeah. So just again, just going back, doesn't mean it's a bad thing. Okay.
No.
So, all right, because she just talked about yoga and meditation, and that's fascinating to me because people watching too many movies. You're not in a basement covered with blood.
No.
With a big hat on and whatever. Okay, so the following categories of magic are those generally in use among groups falling into a loose category, which I love that they said that, of contemporary Western paganism, however defining itself. So one of the things is there's various types of magic, like I said, we'll get into, is just as complicated as defining magic, which, again, from just our brief conversation, it's hard to define. So not all magic has the same intention, and each magic practitioner will use different approaches, just like Cynthia said. So before we get into the magic, I want to give a brief history and explanation of the occult. There are going to be words in here. I'm going to admit, Cynthia, I'm going to not be able to pronounce that well, so do not laugh at me. And if you can pronounce them better, please let me know.
Yes.
And just step in, because obviously you're more an expert than I am. So, brief history and explanation of the occult. The occult is a category of supernatural beliefs and practices encompassing such phenomena as those involving mysticism, spirituality, and magic in terms of otherworldly agency, which I always think is kind of funny. It can also refer as non-religious supernatural ideas like extrasensory perception and parapsychology. And the biggest thing out of this is, remember, is there is parapsychology out there, which actually is a scientific study of the occult and magic and extrasensory perception and so telekinesis and all these different things. So this is where I'm going to need your help, Cynthia, because I know I'm going to butcher a lot of this. So the occult, from the Latin word occultus, is that how you pronounce it? Or,
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, as you say, the word occult means hidden. And occultism is the study of the hidden, because, for example, the supernatural.
Mm-hmm.
And the term occult is commonly used for to refer to knowledge meant for certain people, of knowledge for that must be kept hidden, but is often misused by the church, for example, as being almost synonymous with evil or satanic.
Correct.
And the realm of the darkness, where God's adversary, the devil of Satan, holds sway as long as God allows it. According to them, it's a realm of deception, lies, and darkness, and therefore, by definition, intertwined with dark spiritual forces against God and His kingdom. That's why they say the occult is dangerous, and you don't know where you must be playing with. A little while ago, I had an interview with a real exorcist, because I was in the USA. There, the exorcists say that demonic possession, you can have a demonic possession by Ouija boards or that kind of things. And here in the Netherlands, I don't know anything about that. I don't hear anything about that. So I have interviewed 2 exorcists here in the Netherlands, and they, the first was nice. He say, yes, it's demonic possession. Real demonic possession doesn't exist. It's mostly in the head. People has psychic things and that kind of stuff. And second, say first, I don't want to talk to you. You can better be on the path of God and don't do occult things. So I don't have a real answer about that. I know the church is everything what's not allowed in the Bible. They call it evil, satanic, and so yes.
Yeah, that's Cynthia. That's absolutely fascinating. You want to hear something that's going to blow your mind? Mm-hmm. You can buy a Ouija board at a toy store in America.
Mm-hmm.
So you can I can go to any toy store and buy a Ouija board. In America, there are so many stories and movies about, that's just so fascinating you said that. This is that's so interesting, because in America, Ouija boards are frowned upon. So we have 2 different types of Ouija boards in America. We have a Ouija board and a demon board. So demon boards, you have to go to an occult shop and get it. A Ouija board, you can go anywhere. I could go to any shopping toy place and get a Ouija board, okay?
Yes.
The main thing about this is people don't understand how it works properly. So you're right. A lot of it's in their head, where they think, the board moves and what spells out. However, there are a lot of stories that in America have been put out there about how people have died from the Ouija board.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just bizarre to me, because I've tried it a long time ago. I didn't really try it. I kind of sat in on a session. And then it kind of got boring because we were like, nothing was happening. I was like that when I was in college. So it was, I don't know. But moving on, just explain a little bit more about the occult. Like you said, it's hidden. It's not really meant. The knowledge, which I thought was really kind of funny, is only meant for certain people. I don't agree for that. I think, even though it's a must be keep hidden, but for most practicing occultists, it is simply the study of a deeper spirituality, like Cynthia. Really, that extends beyond pure reason and the physical sciences. So the term esoteric and arcane can also be used to describe the occult. So esoteric people it fits into a small group. Arcane usually means ancient, and it usually has meanings unrelated to the supernatural. The term occult sciences was used in the 16th century to refer to it. Now, this opens a whole bunch of other sciences and things of astrology, alchemy, natural magic, which today are considered pseudosciences. So I have a friend who reads her horoscope every day and will get upset if her horoscope says you're basically going to have a bad day. So I just find that fascinating. Like, really? And I always keep telling her, I say, well, your day is kind of what you make it. Sure, you might be like, oh, I stubbed my toe, or my car wouldn't start, or the shower was, I had only had cold water. Those aren't, that's just life. That's to do with the occult. Nobody cursed you. It's just, other things going on here. So let's just get into a really quick, I'll go through this really quickly because I want to get to the magic stuff, because this is going to be the fun stuff. So the term occultism emerged in the 19th century France, where it came to be associated with various French esoteric groups connected to, oh boy, the Eliphas Levi. Am I even close on that? What do you think? I don't know if you're there yet. And the Papists. And in 1875 was introduced in the English language by the esotericist Helen Blavatsky. I believe that's how you pronounce her name. And throughout the 20th century, the term was used idiosyncratically by a range of different authors, but by the 21st century was commonly employed, including by academic scholars people, in the esotericism to refer to a range of esoteric currents that developed in the mid-19th century. And their descendants with occultism is thus often used to categorize such esoteric traditions as, again, spiritualism, theosophy, anthroposophy, the Hermetic Order, and the Golden Dawn and New Age. So there's a whole bunch of different magic that has to deal with all these different traditions, and everyone out there has something within their group, whether you're, German, Italian, French, Jewish, you all have this different mysticism and occultism to your specific people. So again, it's just everyone who thinks it's just like this strange magic or whatever. No, everyone has it. Everyone has something. So it also describes a number of magical organizations or orders, teachings and practices taught by them, and a large body of current historical literature and spiritual philosophy are related to the subject. So, I don't know if there's anything you would add to that, Cynthia. Basically, it's a long-winded way of saying, hey, there's a bunch of different groups, and they all study different things, and they all look at different ways of doing things, and it's not as strange and hidden, I think, as it seems. Even though that's the whole point of this, it should be to, people who understand it and can use it and use it properly, not just some kids in a basement trying to summon a demon, right? That's maybe not the best way to go about it. So anything you want to add to it before we move on to the 5 common types of magic?
No, I don't want to add a lot of other things, but I think it's often also for I think everybody is like that. A lot of people, if you have spiritualism, that's for everybody. It's different. Some people say night I burn a candle by a picture of my dead husband. I tell you. That's also a form of spiritualism, or burning incense. That's our little things, and that's also witchy things. I call it. And people don't say, I'm not that spiritual. But if you burn a candle every night, that's also a form of spiritualism.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get into the 5 different types of magic. These are 5 common types, okay? So this is kind of a broad perspective. So the first one is called ceremonial magic or high magic. Ceremonial magic is the type of magic that depends heavily on book learning, precise, complicated rituals, and intricate sets of correspondences. So in the West, ceremonial magic was almost entirely rooted in Judeo-Christian myth until the late 19th century. Even many ceremonial magicians continue to work within this context. So ceremonial magic is also, like I said, called high magic. It is meant to have a spiritual purpose rather than a practical one. Although there could be some overlap into those two concepts, it involves improving the soul, which might include gaining divine knowledge, purification, and attraction of proper influences, and embracing one's destiny. So a lot of this is practiced by, believe it or not, churches, religions, as well as little, how do I say, like Freemasons in the United States practice that. That's a huge group that's dated back to the 17th century, and they practice this too, along with other groups that you would be like, why are they practicing high magic? So just curious, Cynthia, what are your thoughts on high magic? And do you have any thoughts on it that you can kind of enlighten our audience?
No, I don't do myself a lot of it white magic, of high magic.
Yeah.
I don't know very much about high magic. I only once I read a book about high magic from Damien Eccles. Do you know him?
Yes, I do.
Yes. When he was in jail, because he was sentenced to death for a crime he didn't commit.
Correct.
And his years in prison, he trained to be a true magician, he recalls. And he used magic, the practice of reshaping reality to intention, and will to stave off incredible pain, despair, and isolation. And he has written a book about that. With the practice, he was to manifest his freedom, and I like that story because it seems that he's now free, and he is in. I think he's happy with how he is now.
That's good,
because he was a long time in prison.
Yeah,
and he thinks that he was going to die, and then he finds peace with the lifestyle he has now. So I think that's a amazing story about magic and how it can use by people.
Yeah. Yes, that is an amazing story. Please check that out. I will try to put a link in there, see if I can find a link to his book and put it in there, because it is an amazing story. So let's go to folk magic, or what they call low magic. Historically, folk magic is the magic of the common folk. It has a matter of practical purposes: healing, attracting luck or love, driving away evil forces, finding lost items. So I could use this every time I lose my car keys on my phone. Bringing you good harvest and fertility. So records of these practices are largely non-existent since practitioners were generally illiterate. So rituals were simple and probably evolved over time. They involved everyday items, plant material, coins, nails, wood, and so forth. Folk magic is sometimes called low magic because of its practical nature and because of its association with the lower class. So, like I said, Cynthia, before I get to your thoughts, I do have friends who are considered druids who do rituals, who do try to help people, just with just, feeling better about themselves and being more positive and getting through the tough times, whether losing a loved one or maybe there's something going on with your, like I said, with your life. I have not had a spell to find my phone when I lose that. But anyway, so this is kind of a big general term, but there's so much more involved in this. Cynthia, so what do you think about that?
Yes, that's a lot of stuff in the low folk magic, low magic, and everybody can do that. For myself, I'm doing little things. So I have spell jars. I make a little jar of glass and some herbs in it, some gems and oils, and then some oils are good for luck or for finding peace when you're nervous. I have a little stone with herbs in the car, in the mirror from the car.
Okay.
Finding lost items. I don't know. I didn't try it.
Okay. Well, there you go.
So yes, they're exactly involved with everyday items. So you can make it of plants, wood. And now it's almost October, so I make an altar with autumn stuff.
Okay.
So like apples, wood. Now that's kind of magic.
Yeah.
Most things are from the nature, from the woods, and yes, then you can do it little things in that low magic.
So let me ask you about this. I have a friend who is into crystals. She has crystals for everything. If you're having a bad day, she has one for that. If you're having whatever, do you have crystals, Cynthia?
Yes, I have crystals. Yes.
Okay. Do you believe that crystals can help with certain magic with things? Just like you said about.
I believe in some crystals. I believe in. You have the golden triangle. That's rose quartz.
Yeah.
Quartz and amethyst. And they say if you put it on your pillow, under your pillow at night, then you can sleep well and calm. So I have sleep problems. So sometimes I try it, and I don't know if it's in my head or not, but I sleep very well then.
Nice.
So then I think, let's give it a try.
Sure.
But
right.
I have no crystals for everything, but there are a lot of crystals I have because I like them or because I like their use.
Yeah, and that's interesting to me. She always sends me crystals. She will always send me stuff, and because I was having a rough 3 years. I won't get into it, but let's just say like every bad thing that could happen happened. And so she sent me a bunch of stuff, and it helped me along with other things like therapy to kind of get through this terrible stuff that was going on. But I look at it like if anything can help a person, that's the way I look at it. So now let's get to the big one, witchcraft. So witchcraft is highly problematic term because, and I agree with this, because of different uses of word today versus historical uses. And we just talked about that earlier on in the podcast. Like, it is problematic because people, like, in the West, many magic practitioners are now calling themselves witches and practice a cross between ceremonial magic and folk magic. And like I said, we talked about that's high magic and low magic. Workings are generally fairly simple, use common materials like Cynthia just said, and depend upon emotion and intent rather than an exact ritual, like your candle for your husband. And by the way, I'm sorry for your loss. They may also borrow certain practices such as circle casting from ceremonial magic. But historically, however, witchcraft meant malevolent magic, and that is the reason it was persecuted. Witches were thought to kill, maim, cause sterility, blight crops, poison water, bring general misfortune upon their targets. Witches and folk magicians were two different groups of people. Most people identified as witches were also accused falsely, while folk magicians were valued members of their communities, which is really weird. So in America, you've probably heard of Salem, which was absolutely horrible. All these innocent women and men died. And also we have a famous witch in the States called the Bell Witch. And the Bell Witch has been done many, many times. The Bell Witch, I'll do an episode on that later, just to let you know, Cynthia, if you're not familiar with it. The Bell Witch actually haunted this one young man. His name was John. So hopefully he's no relation to me. But she was in love with John, this farmer, in the early 17th century, late 16th century. And this is the first case of a witch, like, she destroyed his crops. She would haunt his place. She would cause disease. And there is a cave, and I believe this is I want to say it's in Pennsylvania, in the States here, where she supposedly still lives. It's an interesting story. It's a fun story. When you look at the facts, like we both are intelligent people, you're like, maybe there's something else going on there. Because, any little thing in that time period, right, you would blame somebody. So like with you, unfortunately, and me, unfortunately, we'd be both blamed if like crops didn't come in, right? They would look at us. They'd be like, oh, hey, John and Cynthia, they're in the occult. They're a little weird. I think they're a problem. So I would really like you to, tell me about your thoughts and about witchcraft, and I'm really fascinated by it.
Yeah, so like I say, here in the Netherlands, if you say I'm a witch, people look at you.
Yeah?
Yes. Like my dad is what I say, skeptical. He said a while ago, I was cleansing their home for my parents with white sage.
Yeah.
And he looked at me, he said, if you lived a few hundred years ago, then you was burned.
Okay.
I think you were burned for this. But I don't know how it's in the States. But if I look at YouTube or I think many people there say, oh, I'm a witch. Oh, okay.
Yes, it is. That's just as bad. Just as bad.
Yes. Here is, it's not normal if you say that. But I say that, I don't care what people say, but,
yeah, right.
I think in the time of Salem, the Christians were, a lot of Christians, and I think that's because they think the witch is from the devil. And how you say that? Now you have a doctor or a homeopathic doctor.
Right.
They give you herbs, and you can buy it in the stores. Herbs for your medical things, and that's exactly what a witch does also with herbs. Herbs for this, herbs for that. But I think it's in that time when people don't know about much about it. I've learned that if people don't know much about anything, they has what I say, a witch is from Satan.
Right.
Where the black metal people are always violent or that things. It's I think
yeah, absolutely. And it's still looking a negative way. It's still looking a strange way, even here in the States. Yeah, like I said, people will read their horoscope and take it literally. People will go to. There's a lot of what we would call con artists in the States, and I'm sure probably in the Netherlands, where you may go to and be like, hey, tell me about who's going, what my life is going to be like. Am I going to meet the love of my life? Am I going to be a millionaire or a billionaire? Or what, you know what I'm saying? And it's just, they make up stuff and they just send whatever they can. And that has added to witchcraft, as well as movies, things here. We have a lot of books that people have lied just to get, talk about witches and that a witch did this. And we're talking modern 21st century. That's just odd to me, right?
Yes, it's a different time, and people who are unknown, I call it unknown, about some subjects, they have a prejudice about that.
Right, exactly. And it's just, to me, is there's good and bad people in the world, and that's a shame. But most of the people really want to help you. And like, for me to, I've had people ask me questions about the paranormal and the occult and magic. And I know a couple people here and there can help, but generally I tell them, if it's something deep into your mind where you might want to see a professional, like a therapist or a psychologist, and talk about that. Because a lot of exorcists, interviews that I have read and saw, a lot of exorcists would say, no, it's not a witch. It's, your mind, right? It's your mind putting that in there, and you need help. And I can't help you. I can bless you, sure. But all in all, you need to go and seek professional help, and hopefully they can help, right? So that's awesome. I love that. So let's get into something that you've probably heard of too, is left and right hand magic. So in short, left hand magic is limited by social conventions. It is also limited to beneficial magic and comes with warnings of consequences for harmful working. So again, the left hand, for people, history of the left hand, if you're left-handed, unfortunately, the devil had sex with your mom, and now you're the baby of the devil because you were left-handed. I don't know. That's really weird to me. So I'm right-handed, so I'm cool. Just kidding. So right-hand magic exists outside of social conventions and ignores taboos and even gaining power from breaking them. Only power who consider themselves on the right-hand path generally use the terminology. So magical practitioners within the Satanic and Luciferian faith consider themselves on the left-hand path. Followers of Thomia may consider themselves either. So talk a little bit about that. I think that's kind of interesting. Are you right-hand magic? Do you know anything about this? I don't know.
Yes, as I said, I work a lot with Lilith and Lucifer. So that people think Lilith, not everybody knows Lilith, but she's a female demon. But everybody knows Lucifer, and they think, no, that's the devil, and it's what you say, a warning because you don't know what you summon.
Right.
But Lilith originates from the Sumerian word Lilutu. That means wind spirit of a female demon. And Lilith wasn't always that way according to the Babylonic Talmud. And written in Genesis, which her name is Adam's first wife before Eve. In summary, there are few stories of why Lilith had become exiled from the Garden of Eden, such as her persistent to be seen as Adam's equal partner, as an independent being, considering that Adam and Lilith were created from the same earth, as opposed to Eve, who was created from Adam. So if people want to have more detailed history about Lilith, then it's very interesting.
Yeah.
Anyhow, working with Lilith in witchcraft can be for different reasons connected to where Lilith is and what she represents. In Luciferian witchcraft, Lilith is honored as the consort of Samael. And Samael is called the fallen angel Satan. In Jewish texts, it's written that Lilith breeds thousands of demons with Samael in the Red Sea. But you don't have to practice Luciferian witchcraft to work with Lilith. You can work with Lilith because you will reawaken your sexuality, your passion for life, to reclaim your personal power, and you feel small. If you feel that you have given away your power, or if you feel victimized in any way, then Lilith can give you power. So it's not always bad and dark kind of magic, left-hand bad. No, it's you must know it's sometimes difficult to work with Lucifer or Lilith. But Lucifer also means the bringer of light.
Yes.
So if there you go to a dark time, you have a bad day or bad time in your life. You'll be fired. I don't know, and you don't know what you can do. Some people work with Lucifer because the light in the dark. So light up their life, and they can put some trust or peace from working with Lucifer.
Right.
So Lucifer is not the devil, only the devil and evil, and you can curse people. That's not what Luciferian witchcraft is.
Yeah, and that's, again, we can, oh man, I could talk to you for hours. I love this. But again, like the H.P. Lovecraft and Aleister Crowley, I mean, all this stuff gets kind of jumbled in, and we're not even talking about chaos magic, how that works, and that's a whole different thing we could get into. But again, it's just, you have to go into the occult and the magic, even though it's hidden, and to certain practitioners and so on and so forth, which to me always scares people, right, Cynthia? It always scares you because you're like, why is it hidden? Well, why are you doing this? Why Lucifer? Oh no, I learned at church that Lucifer is terrible and he wants to destroy me, and right, and you're just like, but why? I'm just a guy. Why was he really, like, Lucifer wants to destroy me for what? Like, what did I do to him? Nothing, right? It's just strange to me. It's just bizarre. And again, it's not meant to put people of different religions like against each other. It's about opening minds and to say, look, I may not understand God, but you don't understand Lucifer. So let's kind of, get together and let's have an open discussion, and let's not bring emotions into this. Let's, do some research and try to figure that out. So I have a friend of mine that I interviewed. She actually, this is amazing, and I hope it works out for her. She is with Personal Paradigma, and she helps people who have had, how do I say, like, different paranormal experiences, and it's been haunting them since they've been a little kid, and they can't tell anybody, and it's been, you know what I mean? Let's say, you're in your 40s and you had this terrible thing with ghosts. I don't know. And she helps people. Like, she's like a therapist for them. And I think that's amazing. And she's worked with other therapists who are on the fringe and they don't really bring it up. But she's been doing that, and I think that's amazing. And I wish her a ton of luck too. So anyway, let's get into the last magic, common magic, black and white magic, which we've kind of talked about. So black and white magic are imprecise terms. Okay? So roughly speaking, they are used to differentiate magic practices with an intent that is not socially acceptable versus magic practices that are. Here we go again, right, Cynthia?
Mm-hmm.
Today, the dividing line is often between magic that is intended to harm and magic that is not. There are, however, a lot of practices that different people disagree with, such as divination, which we talked about, justified harm, love magic, and so forth. So many magic workers avoid the terms entirely. So, Cynthia, do you not even bring that up when people ask you? Excuse me.
When people ask me, do you black or white magic?
Yeah, right.
That's interesting, but I can't answer that specifically because but I told you some things I do is white magic and sometimes I do black magic, but never to harm other people. And the kind of black magic I do is, I think, work with demons. And for me, it's not black magic, but it's a subject from the black magic. If you search that on Google or in the books, it's always black magic, black pact, pact with the devil. But it's also what are you doing with that?
Sure.
A little while ago, I had a new book, and it's about satanic rituals. So I think, that's nice, and I'm going to read that. And there was a episode, and there is saying, "For you must kill a goat and drink his blood." Okay. Oh, I don't do that.
Yeah.
And people think that's it's black magic, satanic magic, Luciferian magic. That's what they do. They offer animals or people, and they drink blood, and that's not how it works. Being a satanic witch or a Satanist is the magic word in that is freedom, and everywhere it's you must do this, you must do this, and that's not in the Satanic Bible. You must do what you want,
correct,
as long as you don't harm any other people, and be what you want.
I love that.
I think a lot of people love that because I know the Satanic Temple. I'm a member of the Satanic Temple, and there is a high priester of the Satanic Temple in Salem, and he is gay, and he say in the church nobody accept me, and here with the Satanic Temple I can be myself. I can do what I want. People accept me for who I am and what I am. And that's I call it freedom, and that's the key word in the Satanic witchcraft and the Satanic church and the Bible, freedom. And that's I love that kind of of the Satanism.
Yes, and again, I've read the Satanic Bible, and remember what it says, and I highly recommend for you to read it because it's not everyone's. Oh, I read it, I go to hell. What? Stop that. What it says is one of the things, and Cynthia brought it up, is be yourself, be happy with yourself, but don't hurt others. Like don't like when I read that, it meant like I'm a very different weird guy. All right, I've always been weird, and I love being weird. I love being strange. All right, and when people have been like, "Ah, that's a weird guy," that's I'm okay with that. I don't hurt anybody, but
No.
do I see some things that are dark humor? Yeah. And people go like, whoa, man, that's, but I'm like, I'm okay with that because I'm not hurting you. And if I do, I apologize. I'm like, hey, I didn't, didn't mean to hurt you with that. Sometimes I don't because you can't take a joke. That's your problem. It's not my problem. But again, I just there's just so many terms out there and so many things that people don't understand. So, Cynthia, while we're wrapping up here, I want you to kind of, if you were talking to my audience, like people might listen to this and go, "Oh, she's a Satanist and she's this and she's that," and I want you to tell my audience why you continue to do this and why you love doing this.
I love doing this because it's very interesting. I'm feeling free and comfortable with this. That's the big reason, and it's me. I think when some people who know me, the same as you said, I'm weirdo. But I think I must be weird. But what are you?
Right.
Yes.
Right. That's amazing. So, Cynthia, I've always wanted to go to the Netherlands. So if I ever get over there, I will let you know, and me and you will hang out and have a blast. How's that sound?
Yeah, that sounds good.
And if you come over here to the States, I will introduce you to all the fun stuff too. So if that ever happens, we are together on that because I think we'd have a blast together. And I could bring some of my paranormal friends with me, and we would have just a great time. So, Cynthia, thank you so much for doing this. I could talk to you for hours. I'm just blown away. It's awesome. Obviously, to my spooky friends out there, please listen to this. And I'll put all your links in there. And ask questions, people. If you're a little confused, let's figure this out together and let's have some fun with it. So, just one last question. Halloween in the Netherlands. What's that like? Is that a little different?
We don't have a lot of Halloween here.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Okay. But my house is always Halloween, 356 days in a year.
Yeah.
But it's upcoming. The most stores now have Halloween decoration.
Yeah.
But it's little and it's not very, I don't like it.
Okay.
But I celebrate every year Halloween with my family.
Nice.
Yes.
Do you guys do?
That's why I always want to go to the United States to celebrate Halloween over there.
We will. Are you familiar with trick or treating? How it works in the States?
Yes.
Where you knock on someone's door and they give you candy. Okay. So me and you, we'll have to figure this out. We will go trick or treating together. Get some candy, knock on some doors, have people stare at us that we're older. We'll explain this is, what's going on here. So so that is awesome. Yeah. Again, we'll keep this conversation going throughout Halloween. I'm having a Halloween big thing because this is my month. I love Halloween. It's so much fun. I will continue to put things out there. And again, just to let you know, this is what we do. This is how we end every show. We say hi to our ghost. Hello, ghost. And we stay spooky. So again, thank you, Cynthia. You have a great Halloween, and we will talk later.
Yes, thank you for having me, and thank you, everybody.
Thank you.